And for more on Chile's protests and anger, I'm joined tonight by Cristóbal Rovira. He's a political science professor at the Diego Portales University in Chile's capital, Santiago. Professor, it's good to have you on the program tonight. Let me ask you, as a citizen of Chile, are you surprised to see what's happening?
Yes and no, to be honest. I'm surprised in the sense that nobody expected that this is going to turn so fast in that way. But I'm not surprised because those who have been doing research on Chile, like myself and many colleagues, we do know that the levels of inequality and anger of the population are extremely high. And this is the main cause of the problems that we are seeing nowadays.
And so you say that academics, such as yourself, people on the street, they know that this gap between the rich and the poor has gotten bigger. And yet, just last week, the president of Chile said that your country is an oasis among South America's problematic economies. Is he really that out of touch with reality?
Well, I think that in part the problem is the president, but the government in general, but also the elite in more general sense. I mean, there are many people in this country who are very rich, who are not really understanding. There are many people on the streets, normal citizens, that are struggling to come till the end of the month because the salaries are not good enough, so to say. And because all those who are completely out of touch are saying certain things that generate more and more tension. And this is, I would say, one of the main problems that we are seeing nowadays. And this is probably one of the reasons why the protests are scaling up, so to say.
What did you make last night of the president's speech where he basically blamed the protests on students, calling them young delinquents, and he said that the country is at war with evil? That's not positive, constructive language coming from your leader, is it?
Exactly, and I think this is part of the problem. We have a government that at the moment is not doing what we should expect. Instead of saying that he understands the cause of the problem, that he understands that the solution is not an easy one, but he wants to establish dialogue, he's doing exactly the opposite. He's saying that we need more repression. Of course, there is a big problem because of the riots, but this is not going to solve the main problem of the country. And instead, he's using this very provocative and polarizing language.
And you have to wonder, as an outsider, Professor, looking at Chile, this government is democratically elected. This is what the voters wanted. And yet the president seems to be terribly out of touch with what the common voter experiences every week at the grocery store, for example. So, whose fault is it that this disconnect exists? Is it really the elite's fault? Or is it, the people, the voters' fault for putting these people in power?
Well, I think, to be fair with the president, this is a long-standing problem of this country. This problem didn't start 4 years ago. It has to do with the economic model that runs in this country, and it's to a certain extent related to the Pinochet dictatorship and the neoliberal reforms that were implemented 30 years ago. But going back to our current president, we need to understand that the turnout level in elections in Chile is extremely low. Approximately 50% of the population goes to the polls, which means that the current president was supported only by 25% of the population. So it's a democratic elected leader, but not 50% of the population voted for him, only 25%, and he doesn't have a majority in Congress. And this is, again, part of the problem of what we're seeing today.
Yeah, that sounds like a situation you have in a country known as the United States, I think, if you want to make that comparison. The government tonight...
No, it's similar in that sense, yes.
Yeah, I mean, there are similarities there. I want to ask you about what the government is saying tonight. We've got a report that the government in Chile says that the unrest that we have seen will undoubtedly impact the country's economy. Do you agree with that?
Well, the economy of the country, and this is one of the paradoxes, if you compare the economy of Chile with the rest of Latin America, it's in a relatively good shape. I mean, economic growth should be around 3%, inflation is under control, and employment is not very high. But of course, if the current situation exacerbates and political polarization continues and repression grows, of course we are going to have a very, very difficult situation. We need that our leaders nowadays stop using polarizing language and try to speak a language that connects with the demands of the people. Again, we know that reforms are not going to be easy to be made, but we need another type of language, and this is not happening nowadays.
Yeah, that's good advice that I think applies to a lot of countries around the world at the moment. Professor Cristóbal Rovira joining us tonight from Santiago. Professor, we appreciate your time and your insights. Thank you.
Thank you very much.